Welcome to the Cleaning Up Business Podcast. My name's Chris Guilfoyle and I'm going to be your host. In every episode, we're hoping to bring you industry leaders from a wide variety of service sectors, disruptors within their industry, and day-to-day entrepreneurs with some business and life lessons for you guys to take away. Let's jump in to today's episode.
What am I doing in my life? I started getting myself in a bit of trouble, hanging around with the wrong people. Within a couple of years, I was earning more money than I ever had before. So I spent my life savings, in effect, to go on this course. I didn't really know what I was signing up for, but I just had a gut feeling. I partner with overwhelmed business owners.
Is there common sets of issues that you find when you work with these businesses?
I could double your profits in 12 months. If I don't, I'll work for free until I do. When I lost that care home deal, that would have made me a multi-millionaire overnight. I'll never forget that year because I've spent every day with my little boy. Genuinely think anyone can do it if you want to. And don't be scared to make mistakes.
Welcome back to the Cleaning Up Business Podcast. Today we've got another fantastic guest. I have business growth expert Jamie Simpson with me. Now Jamie is nice and local. He's literally down the road in Maidstone. I've seen a lot of his content on LinkedIn. He puts out some fantastic stuff about acquisitions, business growth, how to improve your business and improve cash flow. So Jamie, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. As with all our guests, we go all the way back to the start. So if you could give me a little bit about yourself and tell me a little bit about your business journey up until you started your business today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
No problem, mate. Welcome down.
Nice setup you got here.
Lovely, yeah. And he found us nice and easy, which is good.
I did indeed.
Usually everyone gets lost there driving around the estate calling me down. Where are you? I can't find you. So no, thanks for coming down, mate. I appreciate it.
No worries, mate. So at school, I was the naughty kid at school. I just wanted to sell everything. Sweets, cigarettes, free for £1.
Yeah.
My granddad used to have a place out in Spain, and my granddad's the only member of my family that's ever owned a business or is entrepreneurial. Okay. So I was quite close to him. He was only about 46 when I was born, so he's quite a young granddad.
Yeah.
And he used to buy me duty-free cigarettes, and I used to bring home, and then I could sell them at school free for £1. And I even got suspended from school a couple of times for smoking because I had cigarettes on me. I've never tried a cigarette in my life. Yeah. You sell them for the profit, but I got caught with them a couple of times, got suspended. So I was always trying to sell stuff and buying watches off eBay and things like that, flogging them, and just school wasn't really for me. I think there's loads of ways to improve the school system, but in hindsight, it's probably just not for me. I don't like being told what to do and when to do it, which is why I work for myself. So I ended up getting kicked out of school at 15. I still did all right, though. I got 5 A to C's.
Oh, well done.
Which I probably would have got a bit more, but I wasn't allowed there to do a lot of the coursework and stuff.
Do you think, a bit like me, I was similar, actually, on school quickly. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast in itself, sure. The school system. Do you think if you applied yourself at school, you would have done well? Because that's how I found myself. Yeah. I pissed around with my mates.
100%.
But if I actually, since obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, since coming out of school, if I'd have actually sat there and applied myself, I probably would have done relatively well at it.
I think if we all apply ourselves to anything without distractions, we'd all do well.
Yeah, I suppose.
But at school, you got every distraction in the book. You got your friends there, you got loads of windows to look out of, you got people in front of you to flick their ears. There's distractions everywhere, aren't there?
Yeah.
But as you get a bit more disciplined, as you get older and can learn to switch off those distractions, and more importantly, you choose what route you want to go down instead of being told that you've got to study a certain subject at a certain time, and you're actually genuinely interested in it. I think anyone could apply themselves to do well at school because they're literally giving you the answers, prepping you for the test in the future, aren't they?
Yeah.
But it depends how you value success. I mean, if it's what you got in a test, that's probably not for me. You don't really learn many lessons. You learn to remember stuff. But yeah, I wasn't bad. I was naughty at school, but I was quite good grade-wise, I'd say.
So you come out of school, you've still done relatively well, despite maybe not giving it your full attention. Obviously, you had that entrepreneurial streak, and there was always that one person. I remember it wasn't me at school, to be honest, but there was always that one person that was always, wheeling. I've got my eldest daughter started secondary school, and she said, there's a guy there, and he's always selling bits and pieces, prime, which is obviously crazy at the moment. So there's always that one kid. What did you do when you come out of school? What was that process?
I went into door-to-door sales.
Okay, wow, tough gig, right?
Well, yeah, but you don't realise it's a tough gig when you're 16.
Sure.
You think it's just a normal gig. So by doing that early, got over my fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And I was pretty good at it. And then I went from there to another sales job where I sold car parking. So when you go on holiday, you book your car in a parking space, inbound call centre. I was only 17 when I did that, but I was breaking all the records there because they used to partner up with a travel insurance company.
Yeah.
And they say, if you sell travel insurance, you got like 25p for every car space that you booked in. But people were calling you to book the car space. They weren't going to go, I'll call you back.
Yeah,
It's not a big enough thing for them to duplicate the work. So it was easy work.
Their intent was to buy was already there.
Exactly. But there was an upsell for the travel insurance where you got £4. Okay. I remember it was Insure and Go. And my missus was looking at travel insurance last night. I was like, make sure we go with Insure and Go.
Still getting them revenue even today.
So each phone call, you got £4 if you sold travel insurance. And like, oh, you got your car parking. Would you be interested in travel insurance? I see you flying out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I just used to like make double what everyone else did because no one else used to upsell. So I really enjoyed that. Then I went into selling carpets, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Again, lots of upselling there. And then I went down a bit of a different route. Started getting myself in a bit of trouble, hanging around with the wrong people. Ended up being a doorman for 3-4 years rather than going down the sales route, which is probably a blessing in hindsight. But if I stayed in sales, I'd be very high up in sales, I believe. But maybe for a corporate company, who knows? Yeah. But yeah, I started hanging around with the wrong people, started doing the doors, started just working nights. And at the age of about 22, 23, I thought, what am I doing in my life? Yeah. I'm literally just going to work. I'm on an hourly salary. Would I want my future kids to be doing this? No. I want a big house. I want a nice car. I want to go on nice holidays. I want to have a big family. I'm not going to achieve any of that doing what I'm doing. So I decided to get out the door work because it's not a good scene to be in when you're trying to fulfill your potential, shall we say. Yeah. It's more of a side job, but I was treating it as a full-time job. So I went and got a taxi license and started being a taxi driver just to get away from doing the doors. I had no skills apart from sales, but I don't know. I just didn't want to go back to sales for some reason. Why
do you think that was? Is there a predominant reason behind that? It's a tough gig, sales, right? But it's definitely the base.
I love sales. I just don't want to be told what time I've got to be at work. And like, so taxi driver, you can work when you want, can't you? Yeah. I don't like being told what to do. Okay. I think most business owners can relate to. Yeah. And then I saw the film Thomas Crown Affair, Pierce Brosnan. No, the old James Bond.
Yeah, I know. I know the James Bond, Pierce Brosnan. I've never seen the film though.
Great film. So he's into mergers and acquisitions.
Okay.
And he owns a company called Crown Acquisitions.
Right.
He just looks the bollocks. Dresses in lovely suits, gets beautiful women, does huge business deals, outsmarts other people. I'm like, I could do this. Yeah. I'm good at sales. I like business. Yeah. Just because I've pissed away last 4 or 5 years doesn't mean the future has to look like that.
Spot on.
I want to be like him. So I started reading every single business book you can think of. I converted my taxi job into a taxi company, picked a niche. So I transported people in wheelchairs. Okay. I then recruited a couple of staff and started winning. Well, what I did is I wrote letters to every single like care home and hospital and day centre in the local area, just saying, look, I've got wheelchair vehicles. Do you have patients that need transport? Started winning contracts left, right and centre. Then I got staff in. And all the time I'm reading these business books. Now, podcasts weren't a thing back then. Yep. But I was reading these business books. And I'm not one of them people who just reads a book to say I read a book. I sit there with pen and paper. I underline it. I make notes. And I try and take action from what I actually read. Yep. And I try and, after each book, I try and make one like a daily or a weekly habit that I take away. Mm-hmm. So it's not a waste of a read. Yep. I started implementing all these like growth strategies in my business. And I'm thinking, I'm doing all right financially. I'm still tied to the business. I want to go traveling. Like, I want to see the world. I love traveling. I still do. I've got about 6-7 holidays booked now. Nice. Just love traveling. How can I do that? So I read a few books like the E-Myth Revisited and stuff like that, and how to systemize your business. And within a couple of years, I was earning more money than I ever had before. And I traveled 6 weeks Asia, 6 weeks Australia, and 3 weeks in Africa. And I was still earning the same, if not more money while being away. Yeah. I was like, this is lovely. I love this. This is great. Then my friends and family were like, how are you doing this? Like, you're always away, but you've always got money. So I started working, well, not working in their businesses, but helping them achieve their goals of earning more money and having more free time and systemizing their business. And that's what got me into growth, helping businesses grow. And
it's interesting, isn't it? Do you think, obviously with the, I'm going to jump well forward a bit here and I'll come back, but do you think with the business owners you work with, do you think that's the common goal of most business owners, that because my goal, probably like everyone else, is, oh, well, I'll start my own business, I'll get everyone working for me and I'll never, I won't have to do nothing. I think the reality of that is obviously a lot different.
We all get bored as well if that was the case.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need problems solved. That's why we're business owners.
Do you think that's the goal predominant goal of most business owners, is they want a business that functions without them there?
I think everyone starts off saying they want to sell for £1 million.
Yeah.
And then I think once they're in the business, they realise that they probably could do that in the future, but they're going to miss bedtime with the kids every night.
Yeah.
They're going to not be able to go on holiday. They're going to have stress of not being able to make payroll. And then I think they lower their expectations to more lifestyle related than financial related. And as the stresses build over the years, they would just be happy with a holiday without their phone ringing.
Yeah. That's probably the point I'm at, to be honest. I mean, this holiday, I mean, I'm pretty fortunate now with the size we are, the business would function.
Comes with scale, doesn't it?
Without me here. But I don't know, I just can't switch myself off yet. I just think there's a few bits and pieces we need to improve on to make sure that's there. So what made you, so obviously, you've done it for yourself and then people are asking you how to do it.
Yeah.
Tell me about that transition into starting your own business and helping other people with, was there training that you went on? How did you go about that? How did you start putting that into place and getting to where you are now?
It's all, when I say self-taught, it's not self-taught because I've read books.
Of course.
So somebody else has already trodden the path.
Yeah.
I say reading a book or listening to a podcast, like having a one-way conversation with an expert. And because you're not sat there thinking about, what they're going to ask, what am I going to say next? You're fully focused on what their story is. Yeah. You absorb it a lot quicker. So if you could take action, and I think the skill is finding which parts to take action on that are relevant to yourself, you can build up a good little portfolio of strategies in whatever field you want to do. And then I would just introduce those strategies to friends and families, businesses. And so call them up a week later. How'd you get on with X? How'd you get on with Y? Oh, I've not done it yet. I've been too busy. I said, well, this is the problem. This is why you need to do it. And then I would start making them a bit more accountable, just saying, look, I'm more than willing to help you, but you've got to implement the changes that I tell you. Otherwise it's not worth, because I'm doing it for free. Yeah. So if they're paying me, I'll be like, well, if you're not doing it, I'm getting paid anyway, but doing it free. So then they started implementing the changes and started getting similar results that I got, that gave them a bit more money and freedom. I think freedom was more the motivator for most. Yeah. And then from there, I'm really into my boxing. I've been to New York a couple of times for boxing. I've been to Latvia to watch Usyk fight. Yeah. I've been to Monte Carlo to watch boxing. And my boxing coach is one of the best cutsmen in the business. He does all the cut work for Katie Taylor, Lawrence Okoli. His name's Jumbo, Ian Johnson. Yeah. Really nice guy. And I was listening to a podcast from a guy called Stitch Duran, probably the most famous boxing cutsman. He's in all the films, the Creeds and things like that. And I finished up on this podcast and it said, and next time on our podcast, we got this businessman, Dan Peña, coming on. So because it was an old podcast, I skipped straight forward. I thought I'll listen to that. And Dan's a character, shall we say.
Yeah, I have come across, obviously, I think most business people, especially with social media now, would have. What was that experience like? I bet that was crazy. Did you have to do boxing and all that?
Not when I went there. So I went in.
He makes you knock 10 bells out of each other, some of them, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I went in 2015.
Okay.
And this before he kind of got famous on YouTube and things like that. So I went up there and I think it was 30 grand, including VAT. Wow. To go and spend a week there and learn his QLA methodology, which, mate, I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what I was signing up for. I just thought, I am where I am. I've done quite well at this stage, considering where I was a few years ago. Mm-hmm. I've got levels to go to. Yeah. This guy lives in a castle. Right? I've just bought myself a 1-bedroom flat. Yeah. There's levels to this game. Of course. If I hang around with this guy, if I learn one thing, it could take me to the next level.
Well, success leaves clues, doesn't it? That's exactly. What, we'll come on to this a little bit later because we have a common entrepreneur that we both favour in terms of Andy Pacello, who I'm a big advocate and fan of. But, you know, people say, like he says, people that have been there, and you've hit it on the head with the books, people that have been there and done it, you know, and they are where they are, rather than vilifying that person and saying, oh, well, you know, they've done this.
I never understood that.
Yeah, you know, they've got there. They've gone, like you said, they've trodden that path. So why would you not want to learn off them?
That's why I love helping people now, because they can save years of making the same mistakes that I did just by having me as part of their team. Sure. So they can fast forward their success. Yeah. I've never understood poo-pooing people's success. Like, even if you don't like them, you can learn from them. Yeah. Well,
it's a toxic culture of social media, I think, or, you know, we're getting into thingy. So go on, tell me about the Dan Peña event.
Well, I couldn't afford it for a start. I literally just I've been traveling. I've been to all these places. I'm not living frugally. I've just bought my first property, which in my dad's eyes meant you were successful when you got a mortgage. That's the background I come from, not very entrepreneurial. So I had a little bit of money left, and I basically just worked my arse off for the next month or so to get the money paid to go on this course. So I spent my life savings, in effect, to go on this course. I didn't really know what I was signing up for, but I just had a gut feeling. So I went and got to these couple of suits, because he makes you wear like a three-piece suit and all that jazz. Got a flight up to Edinburgh. And there's about 12 of us there. Yeah. And he puts on an elaborate show, which I'm sure he doesn't do when he's there on his own. But in the castle, you have like 8-course dinners every night. He's got a butler that he rings the bell for the butler, and drinks and canapes. And what he's essentially saying is, if you get your arse in gear and you get successful, this is what your life can be like. Yeah. I quickly realised I don't want a butler and a bell and things like that. And it's more for show. Yeah. But it's all about the experience by going to the castle. Okay. And Dan Peña, a bit of background, very successful, taking a company public on the stock exchange.
Is that where his wealth was made?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Through mergers and acquisitions, exiting via taking a company public. And that's how he bought his castle, etc. Now he makes his money off doing the courses and things like that. And people criticise him and say he's a fraud, but before all that, he's made his money.
He's done his money.
Yeah. So that was first half of that course is all about mindset, being a high performance person, being in top 0.1%. Don't be late, which is why I called you straight away when I took the wrong turning on the motorway. I was like, I'm really sorry, mate. I'm going to be like 3 minutes late. Yeah. So I was on course to be 20 minutes early. Yeah. It's just about having high standards in every aspect of your life. Yeah. And then the last couple of days, he jumped into mergers and acquisitions. Okay. By that point, my brain was fried.
I bet. That's quite a long time, isn't it? Was it with full days, I imagine, as well? Wasn't
mate, he made you stay up till midnight every night, like watching videos on mindset and things like that. But because he wanted you to be tired, he wanted you up at 6 a.m. Yeah. He wanted you staying up till midnight so you can perform the next day. Because this is what it's going to be like when you go out in the real world. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand it at the time, but it's all structured for your success and making you tough. And it rubbed off on me. I'd probably come home thinking, that's not for me. That's too intense. The guy's too extreme. He's very aggressive and shouts and swears and everything, and which is fine.
I've seen the content.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. That's not a problem at all. But then when you realise he's got your best interests at heart, and you have to check in with him once a month, you have a Zoom call with him, and he's like, what have you done in the last month? If you haven't done what you said you're going to do, I'm kicking you out the accountability. You have a year's worth of accountability. Yeah. If you don't do what you said you were going to do last month, you're gone. See you later. You paid for the course. You didn't pay for accountability. And I loved that. Yeah. I really enjoyed that because I got a lot done and I implemented his methodologies. I put together a board of directors. I got a chairman who's ex-chairman of Premier League Football Club, ex-Merrill Lynch CFO, a couple of industry experts. I probably sacked about 6 or 7 board members along the way simply because they just didn't perform and do what they said. And I put together a deal to acquire a group of care homes for £11 million. Wow. And I was only 25, 26 at the time. So that was a big deal. As that deal progressed, it fell out of bed after 2 years, 3 years. And I lost 55 grand on legal fees. Wow. That was my life savings again. I'm back at zero again.
Yeah. How did that make you feel?
On to the next one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that your approach?
Door-to-door sales. If someone slams the door in your face and you cry, you're not going to get that next sale, are you? It was a bit of a gut punch, but
you didn't dwell on it.
No, what are you going to do?
Some people let a loss like that finish their career, life, don't they? You know, they take
I've got
a
the
big
skill
loss.
sets now, though, mate.
Yeah.
So I've not lost anything. I've literally done an exchange of paying someone to learn skill sets, of which I got from Dan Peña, and I've done through other people in the future as well. So yeah, I may have lost the money, but now I've got the skill sets to go and earn the money again.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that situation happened because it's where I am today.
Yeah.
So yeah, gut punch. My missus was probably more worried than I was.
I can imagine
we're living together by that point, and we've got a baby on the way. And
yeah, that must have been a tough one. So you've spent time with Dan Peña, and you've obviously got all this experience in sales. So what type of businesses do you work for or work with now? Is there a particular sector that you niche down into, or is it any business that's looking to strategize, systemize, and grow? What do you look for in a company that you're going to work for?
So what I partner with overwhelmed business owners to reorganize and restructure their company, which tends to double their profits. I've got an offer, which some people think is bullshit, but try me. I could double your profits in 12 months. Okay. If I don't double your profits in 12 months, I'll work for free until I do.
Yeah.
And the reason I give that offer is because talking about sectors and niches, business is people, numbers, and systems. If I'm partnering with business owners and they've already got staff, say I partner with you, you've already got a team.
Yeah.
So I don't need to worry about the people aspect. I just need to focus on the numbers and the systems. And that's where I'm very good.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not set on any industry, but it just so happens that within the construction sector, I've got a couple of businesses. I've got a vehicle recovery company. I'm a partner, by the way, a minority partner. I don't own outright. A reactive maintenance company and an air conditioning company. Yeah. So very blue collar, which I personally think they're attracted to me because I don't come from that white collar background. Yeah. I'm a real person. Sure. I'm an ex-doorman, ex-taxi driver. I've suffered in business. I know what it's like not to be able to make payroll, etc. I'm a real person. I'm not just a suit that's coming in and telling them what to do. Yeah.
You ain't got an MBE out of uni and, you know, you're cream of the crop because you've been to university, but
exactly.
haven't really got any life experience.
I'm just a fat kid from a council estate, mate. Yeah. That's it. I think a lot of guys can relate to that. Yeah. But no, I can partner with any business really. It all depends on the hunger of the business. Are they unhappy enough with where they want to be or motivated enough to where they want to be in the future to grow? Yeah. If they are, the rest is easy, to be honest.
What are some of the, so you've obviously had the fortunate experience of spending time with lots of different business owners in lots of different sectors, it sounds like.
And I've had lots of mentors.
Yeah. Is there common sets of issues that you find when you work with these businesses that you come across all the time? Is it pretty much the same? I imagine it is. But...
Financial management.
Okay.
Most companies don't have a clue. They just...
I've just actually, funny that, I've just been on a finance course myself recently. As we've grown, I understood the basics of it, but I felt my knowledge needed to be more extensive than it was.
Good for you, mate, because not many business owners do. Yeah. Until it's too late.
Yeah, and then you're in the shit. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's just because they've never been shown it, really?
Yeah, 100%. So if you're an aircon engineer and you start an air conditioning company, why should you know about financial management and cash flow and marketing and HR? You're too busy running your business. Sure. You're a skilled professional. The reason why you're good at what you do is because you've focused on that one skill set for so many years. Just because you've set up a business now, there's not a magic wand that says you're good at every aspect of business. Yeah. You're still a great aircon engineer. The difference is you're just having to pay 2-3 people's mortgages every month and not yours. Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, of course.
And they're so busy in the day-to-day of running the business. When have they got, so you've gone on a course of finance. Amazing. Nobody really does that because they say they don't have time or they don't have the money to do it, which is usually true. So why would they be experts at it?
I think, like you say, it's better to do it and understand it and get a grip on it than just keep knocking the can down the road. And then before you know it, you haven't really been looking at what's going on back of house. You're not because I've had this 4 or 5 years ago. We were inundated with work and I'm looking at the money at the end of the month and I'm thinking, well, I've got all this work and it's not necessarily transpiring to more cash in the bank. And that's because the jobs we were looking at weren't making any money. And if you don't keep an eye on that and you keep doing that for 10 years, before you know it, you're going to be...
I find, particularly in the construction industry as well, people chase revenue.
Yeah, of course. I've been guilty of that.
Why chase revenue? Revenue don't pay your bills.
No.
I'd rather have a company that turns over 200 grand a year, makes 100 grand profit, than 10 million turnover and doesn't make any profit.
Yeah.
Revenue doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it makes total sense, doesn't it? But like you say, even when I first started my business, I'm going to get to 10 million revenue, you know, and I was a guest on another podcast, and someone said to me, well, they were asking me about growth and, you know, why do you want to grow? Where do you want to get to? And I'm like, I want to get to 10 million. And they were like, why? Yeah. Why? You're making good money where you are now. Like, what's the point?
That's what I say to business owners. Do you want to make 10 million revenue? Will that make you happy?
Yeah.
Or do you want to have 150 grand in your personal bank every year, have 3 holidays with your family and actually enjoy them because you've got systems in place that staff can run the business for you?
Yeah.
I know what I'd rather.
Yeah. And I think that comes with time. Either it comes with someone educated enough like yourself to come in and sit down and tell you and educate you on that, or it comes with experience, because I sit here now and say we're a 7-figure business, not near 10 million just yet. We're at the lower end of the 7-figure scale. But I think of some of the headaches and stress I have now. And I think to myself, well, imagine up there at 10 million, it's going to be...
I'd argue you get less stress.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you've got a problem and you've got money, you don't have a problem, do you?
Yeah.
So, for example, if you've got stresses over your admin, you pay someone to come and sort your admin.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the margins on your revenue.
Yeah,
it's not all about revenue.
Yeah, and we spoke about that because I was going through something similar with growing our drainage company. You know, it's just to the point now because there was no investment, there's no, you know, wasn't a big lump of cash at the start. So we've had to get to a point where we can get someone on board, and now someone's on board, and that will free the time up. Like you say, as you grow, you've got more, more capital at your, disposal, should we say, providing you're managing it well, and you've got good.
I asked someone the other day because I've got 2 young kids. I've got a 19-month-old and a 5-month-old.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You've been busy then.
Very busy. And I said to someone, does it get easier? And
it does.
They said, the problems get less frequent, but they get bigger.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's just like as you scale a business. Mm-hmm. So you're not dealing with all the little crappy bits every day because your systems are picking them up. You're automating things. Yeah. You're systemizing your back end support. But the problems get bigger. So if you can't make payroll and you've got 50 staff, it's a lot different to not being able to make payroll when you've got 2 staff. Yeah. So that's how I liken it. But you can, the bigger you get, if you've got the right systems in place, particularly from a financial aspect, you can forecast the problems coming so you've got time to swerve them. Yeah. But when you've just got your head in the sand and you're running a small business and you're putting out fires left, right and centre, you don't have time to see or to look into the future and see where the problems are. Yeah. You're reacting to them once they've already happened. Yeah.
So some of the common business mistakes that you see made all the time are mainly around finance and lack of systems.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. There's obviously a load of little subcategories in there. Yeah. But that's a good summary. So, and vision as well. Okay. Because people, if you've got a business and it's making the same revenue and profit year on year on year, but you're down the pub telling your mate you're going to be a millionaire next year, what are you doing differently to grow that business? Yeah. But people just do the same things over and over. Yeah. So sometimes I feel like they lack a bit of vision combined with the knowledge to get there. They think, if I just get this big contract, I'll be a millionaire. Yeah. Well, they've not done any profit analysis on it at all. So how do they know if they're going to make any profit, let alone a million? Yeah. So I think a lot of people just need to find out what they truly want. And I say truly want, not just the standard, I want to sell for 1 million. What's your dream life look like? Yeah. Where do you live? How much your house costs? What's the mortgage for that? What car are you driving? What's the finance for that car? Where are you going on holiday? How much does that cost? Reverse engineer it, break it down into a monthly figure. You'll probably find it's not as high as you think it is, but your quality of life will be a lot better than having £1 million in the bank. Yeah. Yeah, like you say, I totally agree with you. When you're starting a business, usually you've got people that have come from a job, whatever it may be. They are, they've worked a job and they're good operators and they think, I can do this for myself. And then what they end up doing is getting in that cycle of, they're an employee and then they've got all this other stuff added on top of that, which then builds a lot of pressure. They've basically just added a huge to-do list to their day, but with responsibilities on the end of it.
Sure. Yeah. I totally get that. You can't go home at 5 o'clock and just forget about it. You've got to go home, you've got to go out and do your quotes, or you've got to do all your invoicing for the day or whatever it may be. In your personal business journey, what were some of the challenges you come up so you've done you started your own business now, you're helping other businesses. Was there any challenges that you personally come up against that,
Yeah, cash flow. Okay. Nearly every business has cash flow problems unless they've got someone more experienced than them from the start.
Yeah.
But cash flow, getting a cash flow forecast, seeing problems ahead of time rather than reacting to them once they've already happened. Like most business, they get their account, they file their accounts, their accountants give them their accounts 6 months after they filed them. So 18 months after the start of the previous year, they see how they did last year.
Yeah.
That's madness.
Yeah.
How are you meant to improve if you're working 18 months behind? If you've got monthly management accounts in place and key KPIs, you can see where you're going week by week, month by month, and say, well, we're having a bad month. We're behind schedule this month. What can we change to get back on track this month? Yeah. Instead of being reactive 18 months later.
Yeah. We've just changed that actually with us, to be honest with you. And we spoke about before, and it comes up on the channel all the time. And this is why we do what we do, to show the audience that most people that are achieving in life, they're just normal guys, gals, and, really, they're just muddling through and learning as they go, but they're taking the key takeaways as they make mistakes and things like that. And that's anybody, we've had CEOs that do 30 million revenue. We've had people that are just starting out. You've got to learn these mistakes as you go, to enable you to grow. But we've just, even our size now, we didn't have management accounts. I can go on Xero or whatever and pull them off, but we're now going to do them on a quarterly basis in conjunction with our accountancy company. So we can start doing that and getting quantitative, data, so you can review that and see how you do
it monthly, mate.
Yeah.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah, of course.
You're just 3 months ahead of schedule then, aren't you?
Yeah. And again, this finance course that I went on, one thing that you go on about is like cash flow and at the finance course, the guy that was there, he'd done some IPOs and things like that, investment banker. And the number one thing, he banged the same drum about, cash flow forecasts, making that's the key one rather than P&Ls.
Well, we spoke about revenue, didn't we? And it's quite a worthless figure to track.
Yeah.
Profit's obviously very important. But the difference between profit and cash flow is you can have a business that makes profit, but if your cash flow's not flowing correctly, you can't make payroll, even though you're a profitable company. Yeah. So that's where the saying cash is king comes from. I'd say cash flow is king.
Okay. That's a good takeaway. So we spoke off camera about, obviously, it's very fashionable to be an entrepreneur at the moment. Everyone's an entrepreneur, right? So working with businesses like you do you find that there are people that are just cut out for it and there are people that are not? To tell me a little bit about that dynamic, about the people element. Should everyone be a business owner and start out on their own, or should some people focus on being an entrepreneur and working within a company and being an asset within that company?
I think everyone knows their own personality. So talking about my background earlier, I was always selling stuff. So maybe that was the route I was meant to go down. However, as I said, business is people, system, and numbers. If you can learn those 3 things, you can run a business. But everyone goes on about do what you're passionate about. I'm not a big fan of that.
No, I'd agree with you.
I love my boxing.
Yeah.
If I turn boxing into a job, would I love it as much?
Well, them boys work their arse off and for little pay early days, don't they? So.
Exactly. But let's say I created a business where I created events where you go and sell boxing tickets around the world. I'm leaving my family at home. I'm having to go to all these events and things. It becomes a bit of a chore instead of a passion.
Sure.
So keep your passion separately.
Yep.
However, if you're passionate about air conditioning, I keep coming back to air conditioning, I don't know why, and you want to turn it into a business, that's fine, but you've got to be prepared to do the work in addition to being an aircon engineer.
Yeah.
You've got to understand the fundamentals of business. If you're prepared to do that, just like we said earlier at school, if you're willing to focus, you could probably achieve anything at school without distractions. But the difference is, as you get older, it's your choice whether you do it or not.
Yeah.
If you make the choice to learn about business, learn about systems, get a mentor, have a plan and work to the plan, I genuinely think anyone can do it if you want to.
Yeah.
But don't do it if you don't want to.
Yeah. You've got to have that desire there, or not do it because it's fashionable.
Exactly.
with your mates. So coaching, an interesting subject. Some are sort of, you mentioned about Dan Peña and the stick that maybe he gets. There are people that...
He puts himself in the line of fire, though, with his content.
Well, any light that can be shined on you, we were saying about some negative comments that were on a couple of our posts, but people are still paying you attention. You're still getting a light on there. Do you think he does that intentionally?
100%.
Yeah.
He wants to divide opinion to get views.
Similar to Andrew Tate, I guess, where he's quite controversial.
I personally think Andrew Tate copied a lot of Dan Peña's
really?
Outlook on divisiveness. Okay. Yeah, I saw a clip once where he mentioned Dan Peña.
Oh, right.
So I knew he was aware of him.
Yeah.
And having met Dan in depth, I do think there's a lot of similarities there where Andrew Tate thought, I could really go down this route, but because I'm younger and in better shape, I'll probably get more traction than what Dan Peña would with that kind of demographic of young male.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose.
Because most of Dan Peña's followers are like 25-year-old males.
Men.
Or below, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So do you think, we had a business coach early days, and I'll get to my actual question. I'm going around the long way. Do you think everyone should have a business coach at some point? Because the reason I ask that is we had a business coach early on and, the first month or two was okay. And they were giving us ideas about doing X, Y, Z. And I'm quite regimented in terms of if I'm, like you say, if I'm bringing you on board to be a business coach with us and give us advice, if you give me that advice, I'm going to pay heedance to it.
What's your definition of a business coach?
So we were in a period where, and it was when I just said, where we had a shit ton of revenue come in, we were super busy, we had loads of staff, and I'm looking at it going, well, one, everything seems to be a headache and I'm putting out so many fires. One, because we probably wasn't structurally ready for it.
Back end wasn't ready.
It wasn't ready. It was just too quick. Two, we wasn't making any more money. And I'm talking 100% growth. So
twice the work.
Yeah, twice the work, twice the revenue for the same money I was doing previous. And that goes back to what's the point of having a £10 million business if you're earning more doing $1 million? So this guy come on and he put some strategies in place which were great. And I say I'm one of these guys that if I pay you to come on board and give me some advice, I'm going to take that advice. I'm not going to
100%.
That's pointless.
Not going to be. I call them arseholes.
Yeah,
someone that asks for advice and doesn't do anything with it.
Spot on. So we put these in, and what I found is we worked with this guy for 6 months. The first 2 months were very good, but then after that, he just become what I classed it as an expensive cheerleader. So he would come in, he'd go, right, what did you do last month? And I'd say, right, I've done X, Y, Z, and I've got this, and this is coming up.
What was his background, mate?
It was a while ago now. He had his own company, totally different field to us. And, he'd worked with his company. They worked with some angel investors, and he eventually exited. But that, long and short of it. But it was I think it was in a marketing field, to be honest. Totally different to the sector we're in. And he'd become a bit of an expensive cheerleader, Jamie, to be honest. Like he'd come in and go, well done. It seems to be going as it should. I'll see you next month, sort of thing.
Here's that consultant model, as long as he's got the money coming in. So he probably, as he's driving to come and see you, he's probably just thinking about you for the first time since you called a month before.
Okay.
I see a lot of that, and they don't care whether you get results or not because they're getting paid.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's why I use a completely different model.
Right. And your model versus that is where you're invested in what goes on. So you're getting a benefit out of it at the end of the day.
I say to people, what do you want to achieve? And how can we measure that achievement? So if they say, I want to spend more time with my family, how am I meant to measure that?
Yeah.
So we need to put a quantitative figure on that. So maybe you only work 4 days a week rather than 5. Or I want to double my profits. Well, what were your profits last year? 150 grand. Okay, so the goal's 300 grand. Are we in agreement? Yes. You give me a minority shareholding in your business, myself and my business partner, this is. So we take 20% in the business, give us a small monthly management fee to cover a fraction of our time.
Yeah.
We're now invested in that business to help it grow because we get 20% of any of the uplift and 20% of any exit. However, if we don't perform and hit that metric that we agreed, so call it doubling your profits or whatever it is, we'll give you the shares back for free.
Yeah.
So we guarantee it. It de-risks it for them.
Yeah.
But by us having skin in the game, we don't just think of you once a month, 10 minutes before the call and dig out our notes from our last call. We're on WhatsApp at 10 o'clock at night to you. We're on email. We're your partners.
Of course.
It's a partnership model.
Yeah.
And if you've got a business that's earning 150 grand a year and you double that to 300, that's 100% growth. You take off the 20% that we get from dividends, you're up 80%.
Yeah.
But you've got business partners who are more experienced than you, who've completely reorganized and re-systemized the business so you can now go on holiday without worrying about what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're building the foundation of the business. So one, it doesn't need us at all. We're advisors and partners. But 2, it's not going to need them in the future as well, which then leads to, in 3-4 years' time, they've got a business that can be sold because it's not reliant on them. So they get their initial growth, more time with the family, whatever their goal is, but they get their exit in the future should they desire to go down that route.
Do you find a lot of business owners, that's what their end goal is, exit?
I think I said earlier, it starts that way. And then I think lifestyle takes over. But let's say somebody wanted to exit for $1 million. If we take 20% of the business, the goal is to sell it for 1.2 million. So they still get their $1 million and we get our 20% on top. But we're going to bend over backwards to make sure we get that because there's 200 grand on the line for us. Not just a 500 quid monthly consulting fee. Where we don't care if you do what we say or not. But we don't tell people what to do anyway. It's a partnership. We say, look, we've experienced this before. My business partner's a very clever guy. He's an ex-investment banker for Bloomberg over in Hong Kong. He started, grown, sold multiple companies, sold a company to a FTSE 250. Nice. Really, really experienced guy with mergers and acquisitions as well. He's my mentor as well as my business partner. By having us come on board, there's not a lot we can't solve. And if we don't know the answer to something, one of our network will. So a good example of that is our portfolio companies. Last week, one of them had a big VAT bill that they're burying their head in the sand about, and they didn't know what to do. So we said, 1, contact them and just let them know you got new people come in. We're going to do some internal due diligence and we'll get back to them. So that bought them 3-4 weeks time. And then we did a bit of financial engineering and wiped off that VAT bill. So by solving that problem, not only have they got the financial benefit of that by bringing us in, they've now got, using Andy Frisella, because I know you're a big fan, you've got 100 energy tokens a day, right? If you're using 50 of them at home and 50 at work, and 20 of those at work are worrying about the VAT man, you've now got a spare 20 energy tokens that you can focus on running and growing your business. So that's what we like to do. We like to solve their problems, put some financial management in place, and then work towards the goals.
So you come in and work for JCD Cleaning. Is there when you work with a business, is there a particular process that you would go through step by step? Can you just run me through what that might look like?
Yeah, there is. And I never really thought about it before. I was doing a bit of notes before this podcast and I jotted them all down. But first thing we would do is a bit like the VAT issue. What's your biggest problem? What's causing you sleepless nights? Because we can't have your full attention if you're worrying about something. So what's causing you your biggest problem? And we try and solve those problems. We usually do that in the first 2-3 weeks. And that's been very successful. Then we look at the financials and the financial management, how they run the business. Management accounts, cash flow forecast, profit analysis, supplier and cost audits, payment terms and conditions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And once the financials are in place, they're the foundations. Because if I'm coming in saying I'm going to double your profits, but we're not going to know for 18 months till you file your accounts and getting back from your accountant, it's a moving target, right? We need to know where we are at every aspect of the month. Once the financials are in place, we look to improve the systems. So review what software they're using, see if there's a better one out there or if we can improve it or if there's any extensions we could plug in to make their life easier.
Is that effectively the whole customer journey? So like when a customer comes in from that point, right, till they pay their invoice, reviewing that process.
Where's the customer come from? Is it coming from your marketing? Is it organic? Is it word of mouth? How are they contacting you? Is it email? Is it on the phone? How are you responding to emails? How are you answering the phone? What's the next step? How are you taking their payments? How are you dealing with them throughout the journey? Are you in contact with them every day? Do you just let your staff get on with it? Do you give them a courtesy call to see if there's anything you can improve? Do you check in a month after you've completed the project? Systemize all of that client journey. And that not only saves the business owner a load of time, it gives us some valuable feedback and data that we can use to improve. And more importantly, improves the relationship with the customer. Because everyone talks about getting new customers. Number one, when you go into a business, keep your existing customers and keep them happy. And then look to get new customers on the same mechanism that you've kept your current customers happy and returning. And as Andy Frisella says, word of mouth is the best form of marketing.
Getting them
referrals. So customer satisfaction. Who wants to be satisfied? You want to be over the moon, don't you? That you've used the company. You don't want to go, Customer satisfaction just means they didn't piss you off enough for you to complain.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, just getting by and just doing the bare minimum is what you've got to do. I say it's like, setting them expectations and achieving more than that. We always ask our guests to give 2 examples. What's the biggest failure that you've had to overcome? Steer away from COVID, because everyone said, COVID was a mad time. But
I bought 6 businesses in COVID.
Yeah, well, I say it's good for some people, wasn't it? What's been the toughest sort of period in business? Tell me a little bit about that story. Is there a particular story that you can remember? Because it's not all sunshine, is it? It's not all rainbows and,
No, I've had so many downs. Ask my missus. When I lost that care home deal, that would have made me a multimillionaire overnight. That was on the verge of completing and fell out of bed. That was a bit of a kick in the balls.
Why did it fall out of bed? Is there a detail?
Just the funding fell out of, it was an introduction for my chairman at the time. And we tried raising money through bonds on Luxembourg Stock Exchange, and then the bond market changed and all a bit above my head at the time. So that was frustrating. And I bought 6 hair salons during COVID. Wow. And I brought in an MD to run them all. Yeah. Kind of trusted her to do that. Told her all the systems and processes I want. I didn't check in enough with her. And she basically nearly ran them into the ground. So really? I had to jump back in. I've got a 4-week-old baby at the time. Yeah. Not sleeping. And I've had to go in there and do turnarounds on my own businesses. But I managed to flip them in 6 months and sell for a mid-6-figure price. So all worked out in the end. Yeah. But all these stresses, I'd like to add always lessons. Yeah. And I know it's really cliche, but some of the turnaround stuff I did with them salons, some of the stuff I teach business owners now. Yeah. So everything happens for a reason. Just get back on the horse.
Yeah. There's we mentioned earlier, didn't we? You get people that can just let that particular issue just, it didn't go right, I'll just go back to doing.
Well, if you've lost your life savings and you've been kicked in the balls and you think, life's shit, where do I go from here? Yeah. Flip it. Okay, if you haven't got anything, what have you got to lose?
Exactly.
You've already lost it.
People with nothing to lose are the most dangerous, aren't they?
Exactly. Exactly.
So on the flip of that, so has there been one particular standout moment where, and a lot of high profile business guys that we've had and girls that we've had on here, we haven't had no girls yet. We've got some coming up. Don't worry. We're diverse on this program. They don't bask in wins, and Andy Fratella's the same. They don't bask in wins and glory too much, but everyone I spoke to have said, actually, I wish I would have took time to appreciate those wins a little bit more. But is there any particular moment within the business journey that stands out for you as a massive win that you really look? Ours was when I landed our first 7-figure customer, not revenue, customer that spends £1 million with us over their contract. That was a big one for me. Be honest with you.
Huge, mate.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, people say to me, you'll get to that point and it'll be, this is why you shouldn't set goals that are too
obtainable. The phone rings and you're on to the next thing, aren't
you? Yeah. We got that and it was a big build up. I'm sitting there, got the nod, customer, we're going to go with you. Wow, fantastic. But literally an hour later, it's just like.
It's like a new car, isn't it? You've been looking forward to it for 6 months. After a couple of days, it's just your car.
Yeah. So is there one particular business that you really stick out as a pivotal moment for you?
I was speaking about this last night with, I say he's a good friend of mine. I never met him. Met him on LinkedIn. I speak to him every day. Never met him in the flesh. He just completed an acquisition last night and he messaged me straight away on WhatsApp. I've just a picture of him signing. I was like, that is amazing, mate. Make sure you take time with the missus tonight to let it sink in, have a beer and enjoy it. Because tomorrow you'll be after number 2 because you're like me. On to the next thing. Yeah. But the best one for me was probably when I sold the salons. Bought 6 distressed salons. They were already distressed. I thought I'd fix them by putting in an industry expert who didn't perform. I had to go in and salvage them with a newborn baby, which was very stressful because my wife just had a cesarean as well. So I needed to be there to put the baby in his cot, put it in the bath. She couldn't pick him up for like 6 weeks. So for me to go and have to do a turnaround on those businesses was really stressful. But when I sold them for a really good sum, I took a year off. Yeah. Because I got my newborn baby, made another one.
That spare time come to use.
I had a load of holidays with my family, which is what I always dreamed of. I've got 6 or 7 booked now with my family. Nice. So not only did I revel in it, I did other things. I did a bit of consulting, did a bit of mentoring for a few companies, but I wasn't actually a a shareholder in any businesses for a year. I took a year off and let it soak in. So I'll never forget that year because I've spent every day with my little boy.
Yeah.
So I really milked it, to be honest, and I don't regret a minute of it.
No. And that's good. You know, sometimes being able to take that step back is that's what you do it for, right? At the end of the day, spend time with your family and enjoy that process. Let's come on to social, because you put out a lot of content on LinkedIn specifically, and this is how you come on to our attention. Do you find a lot of value in that? Because, you know, we've had marketing experts on talking about personal branding and things like that. Give me your take on social generally.
Yeah, I'm not a very technical savvy person, which is probably why I'm in the blue collar industry. I'm all self-taught again, but again, I've had the time to do this because I took a year off. I thought, what do I want to do? I love helping people. I love fixing people's problems. And if I could get paid to make people's lives better, that's amazing. I'm never going to get that Sunday night feeling that some people talk about.
Dreading
they don't want to go.
work.
Yeah, no, I love it, mate. I love it. I love being here with you today. No day's ever the same. It's great. So I taught myself and literally read books. A really good one, Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley, who I've met a couple of times. Oh, wow. He's got quite a few good books, and they're only short little reads as well. And I just literally read the book, followed it step by step, and post on LinkedIn once a day, and I'll get great traction from it. And as I say, the guy who completed the deal last night, Graham, I've never met him. I speak to him every day. We exchange voice notes, message each other when we're in the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. Met him on LinkedIn. Yeah. Met yourself on LinkedIn. It's a great network. Yeah. And do you know what I love about LinkedIn? It's not like Facebook. Yeah. So Facebook's probably great for business. I've not delved into it. But I'm on Facebook so my nan can see pictures of the kids. Yeah. But I don't want to see pictures of people checking into A&E because they've sprained their ankle. Yeah. Like, I'm not interested in stuff like that. I'm all about winning and growth and helping people. And LinkedIn is just full of that. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it's the best platform. I mean, we use a wide range of platforms, not so much Facebook because it's a bit of a B2C platform, isn't it? You're business direct to consumer. You know, that's not our market. You know, we're B2B. Maybe you could teach me a bit more about other platforms, mate, because I just use LinkedIn.
I'll knock you over to Adam. Yeah. No, LinkedIn is definitely a best one. I say you definitely put some good content out on there. So if you guys are on LinkedIn, make sure you check out Jamie. What projects have you got coming up? Is there anything in the pipeline that's coming up that's worth a chat about?
Yeah, working with, partnered with 3 companies at the minute. Yep. We've got a towing company, aircon company, and a reactive maintenance company.
That must be nice and interesting for you from a diversity point of view. There's so many different avenues, you know, right? You're not doing cleaning, same or drainage, pretty much repetitive. Don't get me wrong, the environment's different and that's always nice, but it must be nice to diversify and have them different struggle. I imagine they're all unique.
Very much so. So yesterday I had a call with our air conditioning company, just talking about strategy moving forwards, who they're going to target. They're quite reliant on one key supplier at the minute. So
that's a dangerous game, isn't it? Really dangerous,
but because we're experienced, we go in and see that and put in a strategy to try and de-risk it and spread it. Yeah. So was our plan yesterday. That was a takeaway for the call. So that's what I'll be working on next week. Yeah. I've got a call with a towing company later. They want to put in a LinkedIn marketing strategy, which I'm quite good at, as you know.
Nice how we found you and you're here today.
So have a chat with them, find out what they feel the company USP is, what kind of niche they want to target, who their current favourite clients are at the minute and why, where can we find more of them. The reactive maintenance company, they're absolutely flying at the minute. They've got so much work coming in. Might be good to put you in touch, actually. Yeah. That they've got too much coming in. So we just need to reel them back in a bit, put in the structures, make sure the back end support is there so they can handle the volume. It's different every day, mate. And we're in talks with a couple of others to partner with, electrical companies, plumbing companies, and they've all got different challenges. But business is all the same. Once you get them all established, it is all the same, but that you do get different problems come out of the blue. And that's what I live for, solving problems. It makes me feel alive. Yeah. I love it.
The systems that go in place, again, is that bespoke to every business that goes in? Is that something that needs a review?
I've got playbooks that I use for every business.
Is there a process that you should be using?
Yeah, so I've got a financial playbook that I kind of touched on a little bit with yourself earlier. Sales playbook, marketing playbook, operational playbook. And we just tweak them and make them bespoke to each business, which works really well. But more importantly, we listen to what the owners say and what they feel about it. 'Cause they know their staff, suppliers and clients a million times better than we ever will.
Yeah.
So instead of me coming in and saying, you need to do X, Y, Z, I don't know your industry. What do you think, guys? What do you think would work and why? And that's what we do.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that actually. Obviously, working with such a diverse, and this comes back to the wider coaching question actually. Working with in such a diverse range of industry, how do you stay ahead of trends and things like that within each business? Or is it, you don't really, it's more the back of house stuff, so you don't really need to worry about what's very happening industry specific?
Well, don't forget, we're partnered with owners of these businesses who are industry experts. They've been there 20 years.
Yeah.
They've been an aircon engineer for 20 years. They've been involved in towing for 20 years. So they mingle with the industry experts. Sure. But more, if ever I'm short on knowledge, I will message a random person on LinkedIn that's an industry expert and ask them for a call.
Yeah.
And what I tend to do is, I don't like just take him.
Yeah, sure.
What's your favourite charity? I'll donate 50 quid if you give me 45 minutes of your time to ask you about your industry.
Nice.
Hardly anyone ever says no.
No, of course.
Because you're giving first rather than taking.
Yeah, it's going for a good call.
I'll take notes. By the end of that call, I know more than most of what the industry does.
Yeah, I suppose, I suppose they've got their ear to the ground and you can utilise that. So
any knowledge gaps that we have at all, we tend to either already have a contact or we will go and find a contact in that industry. There's no ego here. If people know more than us, we're more than willing to listen to them.
So as an entrepreneur or anyone that's looking to get into business, entrepreneurship or whatever it may be, or just, grow themselves personally, what's the number one advice that you would give to any business owner or looking to?
I know you're dying to talk about this, so I'm going to wedge it in just for you. I'll listen to Andy Frisella's podcast.
Yeah. I'm a bit, so Andy Frisella is an American entrepreneur, mainly in the sports and fitness industry. And if there's one podcast that I've consistently listened to for many, many years, it was the MF CEO project with Andy Frisella. He obviously talks a lot about, we won't go into that today, but he talks a lot about the current climate of the world and what a shit state that's in. I think we all know that. We've all got to.
I'd say he's only done that recently, though. The MF CEO back in the day, I'll start at episode 1 of that. And he talks you through his challenges in business and his personal challenges. The guy was severely overweight. Yeah. And he owned a nutritional company and that was eating him up inside. So he created 75 Hard to deal with that and the benefits of 75 Hard, not just personally, but how they benefit your business and things like that. I would surround yourself with business content, whether that's podcasts, books, or being around people that are in business. I would do that and just learn from them. Yeah. I mean, get a mentor. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Especially someone like, I say, mentor, that's spot on.
I don't like the word coach.
No,
because you get the service that you got.
Yeah.
They'll switch off. I like mentor. Like, I'm invested in these people. One of my companies yesterday, he's just gone to Vegas with his missus.
No, I've been. Great place.
I met my missus in Vegas.
Oh, did you?
In a nightclub in Vegas,
wow.
She lives half hour out the road in the UK. Wow. But yeah, he's gone to Vegas with his missus. And he messaged me and he said, I'm jet lagged. Can you recommend any business books for me to read or any podcast?
Yeah.
He's got the hunger. Yeah. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. And you find that your hunger increases the more you improve yourself. Yeah. So just by taking action and improving, you'll find your hunger and desire levels to get better also improve. Yeah. And I feel like Andy Frisella, 75 Hard, and his power list really relate to that quite well.
That's a fantastic resource. And I say one that I listen to loads of different podcasts, depends, but I'll dip in and out depending on who's on the episode. But that podcast, no matter what it's about, who it is, I will listen to it. And
he's not selling you anything.
No,
I think that's the main thing. Yeah. If you're listening to a podcast where they're trying to push a product on you, there's an agenda there.
Yeah, of course.
The guy is a multi-millionaire who doesn't even have adverts on his podcast. Yeah. One, because he doesn't need them, and two, because it dilutes the message that he's giving out. Yeah. Because there would be an agenda if he did so. Yeah. There's no agenda. It's just pure learnings.
No, that is a good resource for that, most definitely. I say I've listened to it for many years, and there's some real good key takeaways, from that.
But don't just listen to it. When you're walking, take notes on your phone or use pen and paper if you're sat there, because it is good to listen to it because it's a one-way conversation with an expert and it starts seeping into your head, into your subconscious. Yep. But just by writing things down and taking notes, you can really speed up that process.
And it's about, and we talked a lot about personal development and things like that. But the number one key takeaway for me, and I see this all the time, and Andy Frisella mentions this, if you're absorbing this content and, you're working with people like yourself that have been there, done that, you've got to take action. at the end of the day. You can read you see the business books in the shelf at the back there. I can read all of them.
Yep.
And if I don't do nothing about it, fuck all's going to happen. Yep. I'm going to be in the same position. So whatever you do, whoever you're learning off, you've got to make sure that you're taking relative action to move to where you need to be at the end of the day.
I could read 100 books on being a bodybuilder. If I don't lift a weight,
Spot on.
My physique's not going to change, is it?
No.
And don't be scared to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Try and surround yourself with mentors who can advise you to de-risk things.
Yeah.
So there's more upside than there is downside. I mentioned earlier, I lost a lot of money on legal fees. I know how not to do that
next time.
Because one, I've done it, and two, I've surrounded myself with people who go, why didn't you just do that? I'm like, well, I didn't know at the time, but now I know.
Yeah.
So leverage off other people's experience. My business partner is my mentor. Surround yourself with people more experienced and better at you, where you want to be in the future. So a lot of people surround themselves with people better than where they are now, but don't underestimate how quickly you can grow.
Yeah.
So get someone a couple of steps ahead of you so that when you do grow, they'll grow with you and you won't outgrow your mentor.
The last question I'm going to ask,
Sure.
and this is a bit of a cliche, but just from some of the stuff we spoke about, I'd like to get your view on it. Your network is your net worth.
100%.
What's your view on that?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Because your network could be a book. People think it's picking up the phone and asking for a favor. Your network could be a book. If you've got a problem in business, a bottleneck that's stopping you moving forward, you go through your phone book. What happens if your network isn't your net worth and nobody in your phone book knows the answer?
Yeah.
I tell you what, someone's written a book about it and they're probably an expert in their field, and you can go and read that in 2 hours without any distractions. It's a one-way conversation with an expert. And if you take action, you can remove that bottleneck. That's all I've done. I was a taxi driver. I was a doorman. I just read books, got mentors and learned on the job. And now I teach other people how to do it. And I love it. It's the most rewarding thing in the world. But network is important, but you've got to be able to do the work yourself and not rely on other people. And if you are going to ask other people for help, give first.
Yeah.
100% give first, because my LinkedIn pops off every day.
I bet.
Are you free for a quick call? Are you around for a coffee? No context to it. I don't know what they want. If I met every person that wants a coffee or wants to have a chat, I'd never be able to help my portfolio companies.
Yeah.
So give first and be respectful of people's time. Yeah. And you'll be surprised that there's a lot of people out there that will help you.
Will help you out. Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up nicely. Jamie, where can people contact you if they want to, on either your socials or your website? Because I know I see your content on LinkedIn and say, I know there's free stuff you put out about cash flow forecasts and things like that. So where can the guys get hold of you if they need to?
LinkedIn's the main place. Jamie Simpson, Growth and Cashflow Specialist. I do have a website. It's jamiesimpson.co. That's co, not .com. Being revamped to the minute. So give it a week or two and you'll have a nice, fresh website.
Nice new one. Oh, Jamie, thank you for coming on today and sharing some of your experience. As always, guys, if on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you leave us a review and like and subscribe to that. And if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That wraps up today's episode. I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you to Jamie, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.